Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is presenting Pet Psychic AMINAH, and our topic is training your pets for family success. So without further ado, may I present to you Pet Psychic AMINAH. Hello.
Yay.
Yay. I don't know what's going on with my scarf, by the way. It's really messed up. Just going to tie it. Anyway.
It looks lovely.
Thank you. How are you doing today on this Friday? I call it Friday.
Yeah. With your work schedule, I would say so. I would say so. You know what? I get asked by family and friends that don't live in California, or a couple of them not in the country. If some of you know, my daughter is still abroad. And that's how her pandemic went. She got stuck abroad. So she and everybody said, "Wow, how's the weather?" Sunny.
But it was raining, though. You did have rain.
It did rain. It did rain. It did rain. And so our hills, I live in a really hilly area, and which is ironic because I live in a valley, and I'm on one of the hills because there's like two in the entire valley. But you just love how the flowers are coming out and the trees are healing, and from the dropping their leaves. And healing is as a plus, not that they had an injury. It is their natural molting. If you want to talk it, like dogs shed a lot, so do cats, and that's why it's really good to brush them. I wouldn't recommend brushing the trees, but let's brush the pets.
Speaking of trees, I never thought to ask you, just popped in my head. I have an orchid. Someone gave me an orchid for my birthday, and it goes like this, and
Right.
Two of the things have already fallen off. But I'd love to go get it and see if you have any suggestions for how to get it to thrive.
Orchids are super difficult in the fact that they need a tropical, which you have, environment, but not in the house. So
they're in the house.
If you want to put it outside, and a lot of people do that with bulbs that they get, like tulips and things that come in bulbs, and they get them as a gift as a bouquet or something like that. In your area, you could put yours outside, and it might thrive. It needs special soil. You'll need to look up what type that specific species needs. I'm no orchid expert, but what a lot of people don't know, and I think you've implied that you do, that it will die back and come back the next year.
Yes, so I did read that.
Find it a comfy shelf.
The only thing I'm wondering is, because we just had a lot of rain, but it's been very, very dry. And if I put it outside, then I guess I still have to water it.
This is where you need to read up from the experts and Google it. I will never say I'm an orchid expert. I haven't had enough experience with them. I'm the half-dead plant expert.
That's me too.
I have the Charlie Brown tree across from me here, and if you've watched our show, I talk about how I've had him since he was just this big, and my kid's almost the same size, and he has a leaf issue, meaning there's not a lot of leaves, and then there's none, and then there's a couple, and then there's none. And I love him to death because he's quirky. So you have to find out what your plant needs. Okay. What is, if they were in their natural habitat, then you need to get and there's these wonderful sites online that you can Google, and they will have gardening for bulbs, gardening for daisies, gardening for hibiscus, and gardening for vegetables. It's all different. What they pH they need, what exposure to sun they need, and what a lot of people don't do is let those bulbs go dormant. I mean, you have a pot with dirt on
Right,
it,
right.
and then you wait 6 months, 3 months, for a long time, and then it comes back. Some people will put different things with it that flower all year long, but that's again a research thing because you can't put everything together. You
Okay.
can't have everything. One of the biggest problems homeowners are still faced, because we're still living in really old homes or condos or apartments or whatever, is they put, like my mom did at our house, these massive, wonderful trees for shade. Where I grew up was the high desert. It was really hot, so you wanted a lot of trees. The problem is they went this way looking for water. They went into the septic tank. They went into the plumbing. They went through the
Yeah.
walk, and the cities are still running around at schools especially and cutting those roots. Now some trees can tolerate that, not a lot can, and you don't know. Now you can know species wise, but it's an individual thing. How well has the tree had resources on a consistent basis? We've gone through a drought before. What was that, 15, 20 years ago, where it was really horrid. It was just everybody was really struggling. Those trees in those next 5 to 10 years would have been really compromised. So you cut up their roots, you pretty much, you're digging the tree up, which is really sad. There's more than one way to make these decisions, but knowledge is the key. You just got to talk to enough people that you say, okay, I think I know, and I can make a decision.
That's what we provide here, which is great. So thanks for entertaining that question. I will do some research. What about training your pets for family success? What do we need to know here?
You, first and foremost, this is first and foremost. Dr. Jacalyn, you got any guesses? What would be my first recommendation for this question?
To train your pet? It depends, first of all,
But I want you to train your pet with a word that starts with an S.
With an S?
Socialize.
Oh,
You
I wouldn't have gotten that.
must socialize your pets. If you live alone, that is really hard. It's really hard. If you are a recluse and that's a preference, or you have an illness that keeps you home and only the nurse comes in, or one or two people, this is not socialized. These animals have a great deal of trouble depending on their personality. Some are very gregarious, some are really curious. Everybody, I want to know everybody, I want to smell their hands. That's great. But you still have to do it. You still have to socialize them. If you're thinking of bringing a baby into the house, and that's a plan, put your pet around as many babies as you can, because they're undependable. They might pull their ears. They might, scream a lot. They might sleep a lot. You need to socialize your pet. This is key to absolutely everything. You want the vet visit to go smoothly, and let them just check their ears and check their toes and listen to their heart. God forbid they have to go through anything more than a well check. If they have never been handled, and I'm going to give you some examples. Everybody's got toes and fingers. Your cat, your dog, your people, all of us. So what we do and of course, this is what I trained my kids to do, was I want you, when you pick up that, let's say I have a kitten and they don't know anything and they're swapping at everybody and their nails are out for everybody. And it's like, no, first of all, we don't do the furniture. That's not allowed. And what we're going to do is we're going to cuddle them in our lap, and we're going to run our fingers through their toes like this, and splay them and play with them and hold them. First of all, they're very soft and fuzzy, so it's not a struggle to do this. And then you're going to turn them upside down comfortably. This is not torture. You want to do it in a loving way, and you're going to rub their belly. And then when they walk by, you're going to pet them and they go all the way through their tail, not pulling the tail, but you're going to handle the tail. You're going to handle the feed. You're going to, one of our cats had an eye infection. So goobies everywhere and had to have eye drops. Luckily, she'd been handled a lot. So we had to flip her over and put the drops in and make sure they got in the eye, didn't fall off of her. All of these things, going to the vet, going to grandma's house, having people over. Your animal's got to have some kind of knowledge and experience with what people might do or say. Or you have an excited child that goes, ah, kitty. And if your cat's like, oh, no, I'm not having any of that, that's okay if they just walk away. But if they dart out of fear for their life, then they're not being socialized enough. They're not having exposure to that. Your vet will thank you, and their technicians up, down, and all over, and your vet visits will be so short when they know how to be in a carrier, when they know how to either leash, harness, all of that. When we were first teaching our puppy to wear a harness, not a collar, they're really hard on their whole esophagus and their throat and their voice box, everything, because we pull on them. So going to a lot of halters. So we put them on in the house. And with our cat, who went out, ended up going a lot of places with us, she would get the harness on. I wish I had a video. And then she'd walk one step and then go and fall over like she was a domino. And she would just lay there like, I have no idea what you did to me, but this is not going to work. She took a long time to get used to that the harness wasn't going to kill her or drown her in the carpet or something. But you have to remember, when you are working with a pet to teach a new concept, if you are exhausted, if you've had a bad day at work, if you just had a fight with your mother-in-law or your kids or the garbage man or whatever, and you're not at your best, don't work with your pets in those days, in those minutes, because you want to bring joy, you want to bring love and compassion that you're doing this so you can do more with your pet. They don't understand any of that. They understand the moment. What does this feel like? Well, this sounds terrible because mom or dad is all uptight and scared all the time. Just do it. That gets no one anywhere. Honey, use it with honey, not vinegar.
Awesome. Great information. Thank you. I'm also wondering, when it comes to socialization, what about getting a second pet to keep the first pet company? Is that a good idea?
Lazy?
Well, let's say you're not able to go out and socialize, or maybe you live somewhere remote where
But who does the second pet?
Who does the second pet? What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, if you have one pet that doesn't know what's going on and what the rules are in the house, regardless of their age, we're not talking kitten. This is any brand new cat in your house. And they're like, well, I don't know what I do. And they spend their whole life under a bed. I have a cat that tried that. We little by little got her out. But if the first cat's not trained, how do you expect the second one? Because a pack animal is a little bit easier. They're used to going with, alpha. They will attribute alpha, omega, beta their own way. They don't care what you say. It won't be necessarily the oldest dog. It might be the most physically capable dog. It might be the goofball. I don't know. The pack gets to decide. So if the goofball is the lead and you can't change that for whatever reason that is, guess what? Your next dog is going to act like goofball.
Right.
And take instructions from goofball. So it's like going to work in an office. You and I both had this experience. And you get introduced to so many people depending on how big the office is. You get your team or your people you're going to work directly, and hi, this is the vice president, this is this, and da, 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 da. Let's say you gravitate, because your personality and likes and dislikes, you gravitate towards one of the employees that you have a lot in common and it's easy to talk to. And maybe they are the lowliest person on the telephone pole or in the job. But guess what? the most knowledgeable, and is able to say, hey, I've noticed Tim likes things done like this. Maybe that'll help. Take that document with you. Don't leave it on your desk and say, hey, I have a document for you whenever you have time. I'll show it to you. He's like, no, take it with you. Go to this other one. Don't have food on your desk because, manager, blah, 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 doesn't like that. It doesn't want anybody having food on their desk. Go to the cafeteria or whatever. Having these allies and people who know what has happened and what changes are going to happen or have that are relationships in the workforce vital. That's why within a pack for your animals, they're going to pick the strongest one for defending them. And they're going to pick the best breeder to make sure they have as many puppies to keep the pack intact. So you need to be watching out for these things. Are you that leader? If you don't feel like you are, there's a million videos, books, YouTubes, my show, all of these places you can get information on how to become a pack leader. What does that look like? Where do you want to be? Your animals need to know they have somebody to rely on. Now, my daughter and I are very strong personalities, but Jackson only listens to her. And I don't even attempt to correct him unless I'm the only one in the room. And he knows that. But she and I are still above the cats in the hierarchy. And that's the way it should be. Because we set it up. She respects me. I respect her. I let her discipline as she needs to. And can I disagree? Sure. Once in a while. Everybody does. But that's the scenario you have to set up. If you don't feel confident to be the alpha, please, and you want to get a pet, but you live alone or whatever, go to the shelter. They have classes. They can lead you to trainers. They can get you to people like me that teach. And that's what this show for me is now, as I share all this free information so you can do better. What you might need is somebody on the ground. Right now, that's possible. Getting somebody to your home or going to a class, going to Meetup. If you've never done Meetup, there's a million organizations in Meetup that are meeting and doing their thing. And it literally is meetup.com, I believe, or .org. I haven't Googled them in a while. These things are vital to you staying alpha. If you are the type of person that doesn't want that role, then I really suggest that you rethink your pet choices in size, personality, and need. There is a pet out there for you. You don't have to be almighty, bossy, all that. It can be a dual relationship and a really wonderful experience for you.
I love it. Great words. If anybody out there has a question or a comment, we would love to hear from you. We always like to hear from people. So if you, let's say you inherit a pet from someone, like you were just, and the pet's already been trained, is it possible to untrain and retrain?
Yes, everything's possible with patience. And if we had a ticker tape, I'd say patience, 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 because you're dealing with an animal that has always had it. Have you ever, Dr. Jacalyn, you and I have dealt with people. It's like, no, but that's the way we've always done it.
Yes.
Does
for
that
sure.
make it right? For all situations, that's the way Susie, the boss we had last time, did it. Yay for Susie. This is my gig. This is how we're going to do it. Now, if you know anything about, all imagine a horse. So you get up on the horse and you got the reins and you got the head in front of you and you're ready to go, and you give them a little kick on the side or click with your tongue, whatever your choice is to get them to go. That's great. That's how it's supposed to be. But if you're the one who gets up on the horse and his butt's in front of you, yeah, there's the line. And I'm just trying to give you a visual funny that says some things are really written in cement. You don't get to ride the horse backwards. It just doesn't work, because they'll stand around going, what? And they will take off without you, because your feet won't be in the stirrups. You won't have the reins. unless you wrap them around and they're that long. But pulling his tail is really low and you're already halfway off his butt anyway, so you must hit the ground. Just go with love. Go with patience for yourself. Go with patience for yourself. You can read all the books, and there's a million wonderful trainers online. If you want to look into Cesar Millan does dogs, and he has an entire show now. I remember when he first started going door to door, going house to house. It was very fun to watch him. And he is such a great advocate for people in their relationship with their pets, dogs specifically. He does dog. Jackson Galaxy is the cat guy. If you have a cat, you have a cat issue, get on one of his videos. He has been doing it for years, and he's very passionate about animals and cats. There are resources. You have my videos. You have our website. You have Facebook. That's what I do on Facebook. I share the funny. I share the educational. I want you to understand. Some people don't understand chipping their pet. Let me use that as an example. They are having some little micro thing going in their pet. Oh, people are tracking me. No, that's not how that works. It is so vital. So vital. If your pet has any access to the outdoors, for like dogs, you're on a walk. They have access to outdoors. A cat, if he's in and out, she's in and out, they have access to outdoors. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and say, I've lost my pet. It's the hardest thing I do. It's the hardest thing because I have a really hard time getting everybody's emotions down low enough where I can see what's going on. Because I'm an empath, I'm still learning and still struggling with trying to get the emotions away from the facts. They're like super glued together in these stressful times. But guess what a microchip does? Finds your pet. If the sheriff picks them up, if the shelter picks them up, the first thing they're going to do is run this little round thing over their back. It's usually between the shoulder blades. And whatever you end up paying for it, if it's $25, if it's free from your vet with a vet appointment, if it's $75, the day your pet goes missing, you will kill yourself over, why didn't I get to that? I'm just telling you from experience. We've had cats walk away. We've had, I've never lost a dog. Shepherds are pretty easy to see and most people bring them back. But if Jake had gotten lost, he was trained as a therapy animal. He went to convalescent homes with me. He was amazing. And I rescued him after he was dumped in a backyard. So his microchip was amazing to have. And I'm lucky that the breeder put it in, and then we were able to track down the information and change it into my name. So that is possible.
I think that's important that people realize that there are things that we can do proactively for creating a safe environment for our family members with fur.
Exactly. And look at the title of today that you've given us, Training Your Pets for Family Success. I would like to caveat and add in parentheses, everybody imagine this, training your people for success, family success with your pets. Because really it's about us. If you don't take your pet to the vet, well, they're not going to drive there and go or run down the street to see vet Bob. Maybe they love them. There are relationships where vets are really close to their patients, furry or otherwise. But it is up to us to educate ourselves. It is up to us to make sure that we have the best food we can afford for them. We get them exercise. We make sure that they have the medicine and the vaccines they need. Because if you've never seen an animal go through parvo, you're very blessed. It is more rare than when I was younger. But having to study all these things for my veterinarian assistant certification, it's really tough. It's really tough. I can handle a necropsy better, and that's an autopsy for an animal, than I can some of these illnesses, because you know, a necropsy is when the animal has already passed and we're looking to learn what happened, what is it, what the disease is. So as a science major, yeah, I dissected a few frogs, not a cat or a dog. That was not something they put us through, but we did a lot of research and did a lot of work in clinic. So don't put your pets through that. Please, please, please. Today's the day. Go get them vaccinated. And today, whenever you watch this, if it's one day from now, if you're live with us, or you're 3 months from now, today's the day. Please go get them vaccinated, because life-threatening diseases are out there for all of us. So I would love to see the pet community get healthier and healthier and healthier. Am I an advocate for animals to be kept indoors, cats specifically, and rabbits and all that kind of stuff? Yes. Now, I had show rabbits for years, and they had an indoor-outdoor. So I would bring them in, but they were in an outdoor cage because of just the way they go to the bathroom, and because they were too big. They weren't minis. They weren't teeny tiny little bunnies. So but we built an entire hutch over them. They were up against a really great wall that didn't get hot or cold, and a shed that blocked the wind, as in the desert, there's a lot of wind. So this is what you got to think about. What is the life outside? Will you just forget about them? A lot of people do. Oh, I'll get to it later, especially when we're kids. I had my rabbits when I was from middle school through high school. And when they came up, when I was about at the end of my junior, senior year, my last one passed away. And somebody said, "Oh, you can get more rabbits?" Nope. I'm off to college in a few months. That didn't make any sense. So know what your capacity is. And what I want to encourage everybody is go volunteer. You can hug all the free cats and dogs. Yes, you'll need to clean a few cages and help them feed or help them at the office. You'll learn so much before you get your own pet. That's really vital. Go work with the shelter system. And I know they have age limits on some things. So do what you can. Go where you can. Get involved with a rescue center. People who are doing catch and release. That is really vital. And we can do a whole show on that, but catch and release, and I think we did actually.
We did.
Catch and release is where you catch a wild cat, you take them to the vet, they spay and neuter them, and you put them back out. No more babies. No more decimation of the bird populations across the board. Because this is what's happening. Everybody says, well, I don't want him anymore. You can just go fend for himself. Yeah, but what about the birds? What about the lizards? What about the ecosystem? You've just thrown a cat out there who's never taken care of possibly himself or herself for her whole life. So these things are part of responsibility and loving your pet. We don't need more puppies. We don't need more designer cats and dogs or cute ones. We have lots of them. Just walk a shelter just once and see just how many, and you can go back all the time. I used to go to the shelters all the time just because I didn't have pets yet and wanted to be a part of being around them and petting them and all that type of stuff. So there are avenues for you.
Yeah, great points as always. Thank you. I'm also thinking to myself, we've talked about this before, that if you have young children, you could get them involved in the process of training the pets. Is this a good idea?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. If you want your child not to climb on the countertops, but they catch you doing it, it's not a really good lesson. So while you're training your newest cat or introducing the family to a new pet of any kind, hamster, lizard, dog, horse, cow, whatever your thing is, whatever pet you're bringing in, the whole family needs to be involved. If you have a baby under a year old, under 2 years old, then they're with you all the time. And you don't be surprised how much they pick up, because that's how babies learn language, by hearing you talk. That's how they see how people behave. That's when they find out how to manage their anxiety. And when people, oh, I'm going to just let them cry to sleep. Well, there's a whole pro and con on that. And we're not talking human babies at this point, but realize that the more you involve your human babies and all of the age groups, you're teaching compassion. You're teaching love of a species. You're teaching acceptance that your cat cannot bark. I don't care how much you try to train it. I'm sure somebody has figured out how to make a cat bark, but it's a way their throats put together. But what pets all do is ears. If you really want to know if something's up with the cat, watch his ears. Because even laying down sleeping, they will do the ears, and the ears will go this way. I can't wiggle my ears for my life. So they will tip it. And then guess what? They'll just go back to sleep when they figured out, oh, it's nothing, or it's past and it's done.
How about dogs?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What do they do when they detect something?
For the dogs, it's going to be, so for example, when I started out, I'm wearing earbuds because I have a jackhammer going off less than a block away from my house at this time. So let's say something happens with your child or your pet. So like I have Rin, and she's very skittish, and she's that way with us. She's like, no, I don't want to be a pet now. Yes, I do. No. Yes, I do. No. So we let her go do what makes her comfortable. Hide in the bed. She loves to get under my quilt. You know how much hair is on my sheet to my quilt?
A lot.
It's a long-haired cat. And luckily I always beg her, not under the flat, the blanket that goes between the shade. I said, that's okay. Muck up the quilt. I got it on clearance, and it's orange, and I don't care for orange, but it's very comfortable. But she mucks up. So know your animal. They are not going to get a lot of the cues. And sorry, Dr. Jacalyn, I'm getting off on tirade, and I don't want to. Tell me your question again. I really want to stay on topic.
About children. So getting children involved in the
Yes.
training. You were saying yes.
It is absolutely vital that they see you practice what you preach. And that's true across the board. If you say, don't litter, it's bad. And then they see you drop litter, not on accident. That's the whole thing. We've all put our hands in a pocket and gum wrapper fell out. Hopefully somebody behind us saw it and picked it up. I'm talking about you just took your good old, cup or something and went, threw it on the floor and went, somebody will pick it up. That is not the lesson we need. Same with pets. And the nice thing is, when you take lead in the beginning before your children take over or take the responsibility as you see fit, have them feed them. Animals will really, really love the kids when meals come from them. And all they have to do is maybe for the little ones, you just give them a little bowl of dry food, cat or dog, litter, whatever you're feeding, and have them put it in the dish. It makes them a part of the pet's existence, and they are part of the pack. Even if it's a cat, you could be a part of the pack. And that animal has that good relationship. If you make things understood by a person that it has value, I will bet you hundreds of dollars that there will be less abuse, less abandonment, less whatever another negative issue you want to put in there or challenge, because they became valuable lives. They became family members. And that's what a pet should be. Even the goldfish. There's some movie, some guy carried around a goldfish. I can't think of what it is. But they all are there because we created them from a pet store or from a catalog or wherever you got it. Don't take it out of the wild. That's illegal. So don't do that. Even the beetles and the ants have a right to be there. You can just say, hey, could you just go a little to the left or a little to the right? And you can encourage them with that for lots of things. We used to have a bird that nested on one of our windows. And so we get to hear the babies every year. But then we got another cat and they all hang out in the window and the bird went, oh yeah, I'm not staying. I don't trust that glass see-through stuff, because they don't have a concept of glass. That's why so many birds get killed every year. And we had that show about putting things on. And I really want to thank so much the people that are following me on social media. I got such a great outpouring of information sent to them, and them replying that they really, really love the creativity they could do and the ease of that. So that's what I'm doing now with this topic, is saying involve your children. They must be a part of the training. If they pull the pet's ear and the pet bites them and you want to put them down for that, that's not fair. The dog never had a chance. If it was always supposed to obey even a 2-year-old or a 10-year-old or whatever. We don't have our stuff together. Humans, I don't care really how old you are, but especially a child. So you can't turn around and say, oh, I told you that. Yeah, you did. But children should always be supervised with pets. Always. Always, always, always. Because you don't know, for example, what happens if I sit on my cat's tail and the cushions are really hard? So I heard him and go, ah, and the cat hisses at me. A child will get scared and cry and say, the cat hit me, cat scratched me. And maybe they didn't get that far. Maybe they did. But you don't have the information on why the cat felt threatened. So let's keep everybody healthy and happy by making sure your pet's nails are trimmed. Get it by a groomer, get it by yourself, whatever you're capable of, and that they have enough socialization before you introduce that new baby. Hopefully your dog has been with you for 5 years or 2 years or 16 weeks. Anything's longer than you got the dog and the baby at the same time. I promise you one of those is going back to the shelter, because it's really overwhelming. And sometimes that happens with the best pet on the planet that you didn't know you needed. And I've rescued a few of those going, oh my God, I have enough pets. I promise I have enough pets. And then we got, Emma. We never saw that coming. And Emma's our latest cat. And her family couldn't take care of her. So we said, oh, we'll take care of her till she gets adopted. Now it's like, oh yeah, you're not going anywhere. Because that was 1.5 years ago. Think about what's best for your family. Go to the shelters as a family. Pet the puppies. Go and be involved in dog fairs. Go and be involved with anybody, your neighbor or your friends that have pets. Watch your children. Have them tell you how many times a day you have to feed them. If they're dogs, how many times a day do you have to take them outside to go to the bathroom? I did have a client that let their dog out in the backyard, just open the back door because it was all fenced. And then the dog would come back in. The problem was they never picked up the poop. Never. For months. And a dog is very clean. Cats are even more very anxious about being very clean. So you've got to pick it up. And they make these great claws that have little handles, and you never have to touch it. And you put it in a little bucket. You with a liner, that's a biodegradable liner for dog feces, cat feces. The dog ones usually are bigger. And then you can throw them away. Hopefully those are some great tips of keeping your family on the track of train your pets on your expectations. But make sure, here's the caveat, that your expectations are reasonable. And it's something that you would be willing to do. And you have levels, something for a child under 5, something for a teenager, something for the 20s, something for grandparents. Because their skin is pretty thin by then. If you have a German Shepherd jumping on them, first of all, that's a pretty heavy dog, but the nails will do some serious damage. So these are just the icing of all the things you need to decide on training your pets for family success. I love the title. This is really what we're talking about, is success as a family. Life happens, so things change. People have deaths in their family, or they lost their job. There's all types of things. Think about what you would do, who you could ask and say, hey, if anything happens to me, would you take my pet? And a lot of people don't even have that end of life conversation. Oh, I'm 20. I'll be fine. I'm 30. I'll be fine. I unfortunately have had a great deal of death in my growing up years. My best friend's parents were killed in a head-on car. No, it was the plane. Her dad was a pilot, and he died in a twin engine. So you don't know. You don't know. Plan for the worst. Expect the best.
Brilliant. Wonderful way to close out this topic today. We'll look forward to coming back next week. I don't know what the topic is, but it's already out there. I created all the shows, I think, for the next month, which is great.
I love it, by the way. Love it, love it. Not hate to bring up business, but oh, that was so cool. Date. It was like, yes, I don't have to think about where did that email go. No, that was wonderful. And I want to encourage everybody. I get notes off and on. If you have a topic you want me to cover, please share it with us. You could Bridging Worlds at Gmail is bridgingworlds2018 at gmail.com is my email. Or you can write me on Facebook or wherever. I'm really, really fortunate to have, and I'm sorry to take this minute, but you have to hear that a client of mine didn't reach out to me personally. It was our feed. We were all on this feed, and was talking about that he had adopted the neighbor's dog when they moved away. And now this is 6 months later, 10 months later, and they want to come visit. So very dicey, because the worry from him is, well, do I do it or not? This is the $100 question for so many people who take on somebody else's pets. Oh, I just want to visit. And then it implodes in their face because you have trained and love this pet in a positive way. So he no longer poops on the living room floor and scratches a hole in the thing. And they see this perfect dog and they're like, oh, I changed my mind. I want it back. So just giving him that insight of saying, tread lightly. If you'd go by your heart for sure, but have some ground rules. Have some ground rules on where, because they were neighbors, so they already knew where he lived. That wasn't something you could just, because I would have gone to a neutral ground, gone to a park, gone to somewhere neutral, and set the expectations on, because he's truly bonded with this dog. This is almost 12 months later after they had left. And so what they saw was a very obedient, loving, easygoing dog. It's worth the effort, guys. It's really worth the effort. But if you do have to rehouse, please be gentle on yourself. You're doing what's best for the pet. Hopefully.
I love that. Thank you. And thank you for anyone who's watching or listening and joining us each week. You can always find our shows on our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. We will be replaying this particular show 3 more times this evening and tomorrow and Sunday. So you can always watch it on all of the platforms. So we're just happy to have you here, AMINAH, providing all this valuable information. And
you can find more on my Facebook. So join us anytime.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a great one.
Everybody have a great weekend, whether it's a Friday for you or a Saturday, depending where you're watching in the world. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now. Bye.